Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rick White with the On the Hunt with Alpine Optics.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Hunt with Alpine Optics. And as Paul said, I'm Rick White, and tonight's guest comes from all the way from New York, and he's been on the show before, but we're gonna talk with Jack Coad here in just a minute. But we're gonna take a 30-second break, and we'll be back with you in just shortly.
And the software crashed right in the middle of the open.
Okay. Well, I'm on. You know, this it's always fun because you never know what the show and day is going to bring when you're doing this live show. But anyways, good evening, everybody, and I hope everybody's doing good. Beautiful day here in Iowa, 60s and sunny, and the snow's gone, and I'm leaving for Florida in the morning. It doesn't get any better. But we have a guest from New York, and we're going to talk hunting this evening, Mr. Jack Coad. How is Jack tonight?
Doing really well, Rick. Thanks a lot for having me on again. I always enjoy the opportunity to spend some time with you. And same thing here in Buffalo, New York. Sun was out today, 60 degrees, no snow. I had a foot of snow 2 days ago, but it was all gone. It's been melted up pretty good. So I was so anxious. I'm not going to Florida, of course, to go hunting in the morning, but I am heading to Columbus, Ohio for the Deer and Turkey Expo and the Sportsman Show down there. I'll be working with Lakewood Cases.
That's great. Hey, before we go any further, I would like to send out our thoughts and prayers to Edwin Schertz. His dad passed away just a couple of days ago, suddenly, and I knew his dad and had spent a little bit of time with him, and he was a great guy. And of course, I do a lot with Edwin, and he's kind of feeling the pain a little bit. And I've been through it myself, and it's no fun. But our thoughts and prayers go out to Edwin and his family. So,
Hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that at all. So my prayers and condolences.
Yeah. So, anyways, so Jack. What have you been up to here the last couple of weeks? I know I saw you at the ATA show in Louisville, but where you been since?
Well, it was in Harrisburg for the grueling 10 days down there. It was, Rick, after 2 years of being away from the shows, it was really fun to be back and see a lot of the people and hear a lot of the good thoughts and seeing a lot of the crowds out there who have come after this pandemic scare that we had. But it was really good. It was a great opening day, probably the best opening day I've ever seen in Harrisburg in all the years I've been there. But it dwindled. It dropped off very fast in the last weekend, which is when you expect them to come in looking for all those big deals. The crowd was real low that time period. But, overall for 10 days, it was a really good show, good time. And it was good for most of the vendors that were there. People were spending money. That's what you like.
They've always done that show, and I've been there several times. 10 days, in my opinion, is too long. I mean, nobody wants to work a show for 10 days. And, it's great if you're a consumer because you can go in a day here, a day there. But 10 days, they could probably shorten that to about 5, and I think a lot of people would be happy.
I agree with you. It's grueling for us vendors, especially for us guys who are just staffers, and we try to come out and help the companies. We're not really employees, so we got to take time off of work to go down and be part of the show. I used to go down a lot on weekends. I'd go down on both of the weekends and work down there. But it is a tough show, but it is a really good show when you get back into its heydays when it used to bring in 1 million people, and you've got a big building that has nothing but outfitters, outfitting any type of hunt or fishing that you could ever think about. So it is unique. And archery tournaments are in there. They've got great, the great guns, and all of the NRA special guns that they bring in, so you can see all the stuff. It is a unique show, but for us guys who work it, it is really, really long and enduring. So it's tough. Good thing I'm retired now, because it takes me a little while. So, but since that time I was in Buffalo, New York. We had our sportsman show here in Buffalo, New York. So I was over there helping out, and it went really well. There were a lot of good people there. Once again, the crowds are down a little bit, but people are happy to be back into the shows and getting together with some of the people, outfitters and friends that they haven't seen for 2 years.
Right. Now, I know we had a chance to chat in Louisville, but you got to go spend some time over in Africa, didn't you?
Oh, yes, I did. I really enjoy Africa. It is a great hunt. It was my third time there. Everybody says it's a hunt of a lifetime, which it is. But on your flight back, because it is so long, that's the hardest part about the trip, is a long airfare. You're already planning about when you're going to come back again, because there's just so much to see. There's so much opportunity. Even if you don't want, you're selective in your hunting to see all these animals. Like, I hunt with a bow. So I'm out there, we're around a water hole, and my wife and I, my wife doesn't hunt anywhere but in South Africa. So she calls it princess hunting, because all she's got to do is get herself dressed in the morning, and they take care of you. The customer service is second to none anywhere. She comes in, you get your food. They carry her stuff to the truck. They carry her stuff to the blind. They bring us out gourmet lunches to eat in the blind. So it's really fun. Plus the idea of every time we go out and we come back, not only are we successful in the animals that we're looking to harvest or looking to take, but we also come back with lots of pictures that you never could.
In the pictures, by the way?
Oh yes, she is. She's in some of them. You'll see her in some of the pictures as she's going on. So she's the pretty side.
You guys are standing in front of. I'm not sure if it's a blind.
That is a blind, Paul. That is a blind. That's a blind that we sat in, that my wife shot her spring buck out of, and one similar to that she got her ostrich out of.
Oh.
So she decided that she needed a purse.
There you
guys
go.
Are with, I guess, maybe a guide in the middle?
Yes, that would be the guide, our PH, Brent Van Az. And he's with Numsen Safaris, which is that's a safari company I go with when I go.
So what animals did you take this year?
Well, this year I took a gemsbuck, which is one of the primary animals that we went back for while I was for our third trip. I got a gemsbuck. My wife got a trophy warthog and an ostrich. And then what she was looking for was a springbuck
on the screen.
Yeah, okay. The warthog there, that's a real nice one. You can see how big the tusks were on that. Myself, I got a real nice one. Pardon?
Was it Pumbaa?
No, it wasn't Pumbaa. Pumbaa was a little smaller.
Oh, that's right.
Right. We got Pumbaa's grandfather. So the first time she went over, the first time in Africa, she shot Pumbaa. And she decided she wanted one a little bigger.
Facebook crowd is going to get so upset. Oh, you shoot Pumbaa.
Well, we like, they're so ugly that they're beautiful. Like me. I'm ugly, but I'm beautiful, right? Okay. So then I got my gemsbuck, and I had.
Did you send me a picture of that buck?
Of the gemsbuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in there. He's the one with the black face and the black and white face and long straight horns.
The wildebeest.
Right. There's a black wildebeest that I got. The gemsbuck should be just before that one, I would think.
Buffalo. There he is.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, no, that's the mamba. That's the snake.
Yes, that's a black mamba. One of the only time that we saw any snakes or insects, and we just happened to look up in a lull while the animals weren't there, and we look up and I'm sitting there thinking, boy, when did that branch fall down? Well, it wasn't a branch. It was an 11-foot black mamba, less than 10 yards away from us. So
You guys got them though.
we did afterwards. We let them go out there because then that's when my wife shot the warthog, was while that snake was in the tree above it. So then once we got out, we allowed the PH went and he got his gun and he finished it off before we went and tracked anything else. So, but my wife had to hold it. She hates snakes, but she couldn't resist standing on that 4-foot rock and holding that black mamba up in the air. There, you get the gemsbok there?
Yeah.
There we go.
That's so crazy.
I apologize, Paul. I'm just not sure when I send them over. You know, when we transfer these photos back and forth, I don't know how you're receiving them. If you're receiving them like I send them. So
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
And the Impala.
Yep, the Impala was a real large Impala. That was a trophy Impala that I took.
So for many people, they don't understand. They think it's the car. No, the cars came second.
Yes. You know, the other nickname for it is a gazelle.
Yeah.
So, but I basically, everybody asks me, what do you like to hunt over in Africa? I like to hunt the things that lions eat. So that's what I go after.
No, that sounds good. Now, can you tell the folks on average what would you expect to pay to go to Africa and do a hunt like that?
Okay, well, I'll tell you that I always talk about my first time going over when my wife became a hunter and we worked on a boat. We killed 6 animals there, and each animal carries a price tag. That's the one thing. When you shoot, that's when the cash register rings. But we went over there for 2 weeks, 6 animals, 5-star accommodations, and for the hunt itself, for the vacation itself, it costs for the 2 of us $8,000.
That's not really that bad.
No. When you stop and you consider how much an elk hunt costs in New Mexico or in Montana or Wyoming, if you can get a tag, plus you look at your hunt is approximately the 26% shot opportunity with a bow. So you're spending lots of money. You're spending over 10 grand for most of those by the time you get your tags, you get your outfitter, you get the equipment that you need to get up to where you're going to. So a trip to Africa and selectively harvesting the animals you want to take can be very affordable. And the biggest surprise I ever had was I was expecting a huge taxidermy bill. But you know, it wasn't. It was shockingly not as bad as I was anticipating. The taxidermy, we had it done over in Africa the first time. And when they sent it back, it came over. The travel cost was only $1,500 to send me 6 completed animals, fully taxidermied and with their plaques. And that even included the one that I got the first time was a kudu, which is a beautiful animal over here also. And his horns are so long, and I don't have big ceilings. I got like the normal guy. I've only got about 8-foot ceilings. So he had 53-inch long horns. So I had to put him on a pedestal. So that price included my taxidermy and that stuff. It was only about $1,000 to do an elk-size animal, exotic wood platform for a pedestal with the hide from the kudu on the inlays. It's just a beautiful piece of art. And that's what, we kind of do. Everybody kind of looks and says, well, what do you do with the meat? Well, you can't bring it back into the U.S. because the USDA doesn't allow it. But nothing goes to waste. So most of the villagers over there get their first opportunity for meat in a year or so, maybe 1 or 2 opportunities to even have meat. Because of these hunts that we do with the outfitters. The outfitters are out there saving species and raising them and making sure that they survive and they thrive. And the meat and all that goes to those who don't have any food, and the rest of the hide and that stuff comes back with us for our trophies, for the memories.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. When are you going back?
I think maybe 2024 or 2025.
There you go. Yeah, well, that sounds good. Now let's talk a little bit you being a big bow hunter and stuff, and I know the bow shoots are kind of at a still here right now, and probably firing up here in the next month or two, or
they're getting ready to kick off. We have had a couple. We had one of the first ASAs, I believe, down in Foley, and they're getting ready to get kicked off here in New York. We always run in New York. We run a couple of leagues down here with about 400 or 500 shooters every Sunday from January to the beginning of April. And then we get our regional shoots and the state shoots in the Northeast start to come out once the weather's kind of broken and you can kind of get into the clubs and be able to travel without having to worry about walking through a couple feet of snow. Because I used to shoot in those winter leagues, and let me tell you, in Buffalo, New York, on in a February or March on a Sunday, and you're out there and you're walking through a few feet of snow and the wind's blowing and it's 15 degrees outside, that's challenging. I'll never forget the one year targets were frozen so badly that people were breaking arrows just by shooting into the targets because they were frozen. Because you can't set them up the day before, you got to set them up a few days ahead of time.
Right, right.
And you couldn't get them out of targets. They'd be in there and everybody's snapping arrows. It was, it's a mess. It's just like when you go out hunting turkeys, like I got a good friend of mine who always tells me, he goes, if the arrow isn't flying, you can't get anything. So,
well, he's right. That's for sure. Let's talk a little bit. We wanted to talk turkey hunting a little bit tonight, but let's talk bow hunting turkeys primarily. And we've got a lot of turkey talk going on here the next few weeks because turkey season. Well, I'm leaving tomorrow. I start hunting this weekend, my first hunt of the year, so I'm looking forward to it. But let's talk bow hunting a little bit. And I do quite a bit of bow hunting for turkeys as well. But what do you recommend people look for? They want to go bow hunting this year for the first time. Where are you going to send them? What are you going to direct them to?
Well, I think the first thing you got to figure out is, number one is, how can I draw my bow without a turkey seeing me? That's the number one thing. You got to figure that out. So you've got to do one of two things. Either you've got to learn how to hunt properly, maybe get in behind some trees or utilize trees in order to cover your draw up. But the two biggest things that I use nowadays are a blind, which helps get away with a lot of movement, allows you to set your blind, your bow down along the side of you, and you can make some calls. If you got to use some friction calls, you're going to be all set. And then I use decoys. Decoys are the biggest thing to help me with my archery, because even if I'll tell you right now, Rick, I don't have the luck that some of you guys do. I've got $400 or $500 worth of decoys, and I'm still waiting for one of those big gobblers to come in and kick the heck out of my Jake. I have yet to have that happen, but I keep waiting. I keep waiting to fling a decap head, which is one that is shaped like it is designed to cut the head off the turkey at about 4 or 5 yards, right on top of the decoy. So that works. I've yet to be able to do that. When I'm trying, I've always got a bladed arrow alongside, so I can take the one arrow off and switch the other arrow on in case I got to shoot them at 20 yards or 25 yards. But some of these wary gobblers, they like to get in there and they stay out. They'll stay right out there at 20 to 30 yards, and then you got to make the shot in that. So making sure, the best thing you can do is that I always tell everybody, turkey hunt, this is turkey hunting. It isn't turkey calling. It's always nice. It's always a lot easier if you've scouted your turkeys or know where they're heading, and you can get in between where they're going to and where they're coming from, and then use some subtle calls. You can get into them and be a little bit more successful, especially as you're starting out. But the biggest thing with the bow is you've got to figure out how you're going to draw that bow back and send that broadhead to your target, which is one of the things I always like doing. I've just recently started, but I haven't had any success yet, was taking 12 and 13-year-old kids out, because it's just been legal the last couple of years in New York, with a crossbow. So they can actually get up there, so they don't have to worry. I don't have to worry about a kid being afraid of the recoil. It's basically not much different than if you were to put a shotgun in his hand. He just has to stay, it can't move because turkeys will pick it out. I always used to tell them in some of my seminars, some of my buddies, and that the reason why turkeys are so skittish and so skeptical is because everything wants to eat turkeys. From the time they're an egg to the time that they're grown, everything's trying to eat them. So they're running away from everybody and everything in any way they can. So, but that's what the best things I can do is just learn where you're hunting, scout your turkeys, and then design a plan. And either use, use natural ground cover or use a blind. Nowadays the blinds have gotten so good. These new see-through blinds, you and I were just talking about this not too long ago. These new see-through blinds that are out by Primos and out by Rhino Blinds. And there's even been some of those off-brand ones that are coming out with the 180 visual, because you can see the turkeys. I don't know how many times I've been sitting there in a blind and all of a sudden there'll be a turkey head, right there next to my window, and I never saw him coming. He never came in, never made a sound. He just appeared. And those big birds, a lot of times they don't make noise. They just show up. They come to the party to dance.
That's right. I did a hunt in Indiana a few years ago. I go to Indiana every year, but a few years ago, and I took my gun because we were gun hunting, but we got permission to hunt this horse farm, which was a great place, and there was lots of turkeys. And they asked us not to shoot guns around the horses. So I had to bow hunt, which was fine, but I didn't take my bow with me. So one of our fellow pro staff members, Jason Miles, had a crossbow. It's the only time I've ever slung a crossbow arrow at anything and shot a turkey with it. So yeah, it is fun though. It is a lot of fun. But I strongly recommend bow hunting out of blinds. Now I've shot them outside of blinds, but it's really hard to, especially if I'm self-filming, it's really hard to do it all. But one of the things that I always liked is the short axle to axle bow, number one, if you're outside the blind, and then just wait for them to strut until they turn around and that tail fan's blocking their head, and then you can draw. And that Texas heart shot is a very lethal shot. But once you're drawn, you can let them turn around or whatever. You're good to go. But I do like hunting out of blinds, and I always put my decoys very, very close. 7 to 10 yards max in my blinds. I always tell people, put your decoys where you want to shoot your turkey. And I shoot with a bow. I shoot most of my turkeys within 10 yards. I just like that shot.
Oh, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with you. Generally, my decoys are anywhere from 4 to 6, 7 yards right in there. And I'll set my Jake up a little bit closer, because hopefully that's where the gobbler's going to go, is to go after a strut, half strutting Jake there. But I kind of set them up and I put them where I'm hoping that the turkeys are going to come and where I want to get my shot. Because the next best thing you got to do is you've got to learn where to shoot a turkey. And it's not easy when they're all fanned up. That's and right. Those feathers are deceiving. Those feathers are like armor. It's amazing. With the crossbow, I really kind of fell for a crossbow the last few years because I've had 3 shoulder surgeries in the last 4.5 years. So I haven't been able to, sit in the cooler weathers, in those damp weathers in the early springs, like in March when I go out to Nebraska. I've actually tried to draw my bow. I couldn't even do it. So having a crossbow has allowed me to be successful the last couple of years. So, I've had a few with crossbow. It just makes it a little, it's just a different way. It's another implement in which to hunt with. So, it just makes it a little easier because you don't have to move as much with a bow. I don't have to worry about drawing a crossbow. It's already cocked, ready to go.
Right. And there's so many different kinds of decoys out there. I don't know what you're using. I'm using avians these days, but years ago I used Callie Morris. If I don't know if you're familiar with his decoys. He has a taxidermied decoy, and they're very expensive and they're very realistic. And I have had gobblers come in and just tore them up. Luckily I know Callie and I was able to get my decoys, but they're about $800. And when you get a gobbler that comes in or Jake or something and starts picking his head and picking at his eyes and he's ruining an $800 decoy, it hurts a little bit. So yeah. No, it's fun to watch them around decoys, and I love to bow hunt. Now, what's some of the other equipment that you're gonna have to have a chair? You got to take a chair with you. Yeah. And I recommend, especially if you're hunting by yourself, a comfortable chair, because patience is the key to the game, in my opinion, when you're turkey hunting. And sometimes, if you're hunting like you do, where you're getting kind of in between where they're going to and where they're coming from, it might be a waiting game for a while. So you might as well sit as comfortably as you can.
Yeah, especially if you're going to do any self-filming like you had mentioned in that. You need to be in a blind. So hopefully you've got yourself set up, because it's too hard to self-film with a bow, blind, chair, and decoys if you're going to run and gun. That's really hard. And it's very difficult to run and gun without a blind and do some self-filming. So some of the chair and that stuff, one of the things I always say, I see people get comfortable chairs and they got these nice little arms on there. Well, remember when you draw your bow back, those arms can be problematic for you. So my favorite chair that I use was actually one that was designed called it's sold by Magnus. It was another friend of mine. He had originally invented this, a turkey killer out in South Dakota, Lance Verholtz, one of the best turkey minds I've ever seen. And he hunts with all kinds of bows. That's what he loves, is archery. Well, he made this pack rack, which was designed to carry, it was a frame pack that would designed to carry a blind, but the rack also swung upside down and became a chair. It was the most comfortable chair I'd ever sat in. And Rick, when you're out there long, an hour or two before dark, and you got to take that little nap in the morning, waiting for the gobbler alarm clock to start up. Those first 2 hours can be long when you're sitting in there. So having a comfortable chair is very important. I also like one that has a little bit of a swivel. Nowadays, a lot of the manufacturers are making chairs that have quiet swivels. So if I've got to move a little bit when I'm at full draw, I can move my seat a little bit without having to try to bend my arm around, trying to bend my body. Because maintaining your form in archery is the most important thing.
Yeah,
well, we
absolutely.
got about 3 minutes left in the show. Is there any kind of business or anything we need to take care of?
Any specials?
Well, no, we're not doing a special, but I would want to draw a little bit of attention to our new action camera. I'm actually, this is the first spring that we've had the new action camera, and I'm really looking forward to going out and using it. And it comes. Those that are listening, our new action camera is a 4K action camera that has a Bluetooth remote, or you can run it off your phone through the Wi-Fi, but it comes with a decoy. With 4K, so you certainly might want to look at that.
I'm looking forward to that this year.
As you gave that nice soliloquy about the 4K camera, I had to go run and figure out what went wrong.
Yeah?
Yeah, so no one heard what you just said.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's do it again.
Well, I just talking about those that are going to go out and try to film their own hunts. If you don't have a sophisticated video camera and that, we have that new 4K action camera, which is out now. Bluetooth, and also Wi-Fi's through your phone. And it's 4K, or you can set it up to any, but 4K is what I run it at, and you're able to zoom in. And so if you're not as tight on your animal, that's okay, because when you edit, you can zoom in with 4K and bring it close and keep it clear. So something that people may want to look at. But any closing statements, Jack?
I concur with your idea. I'm looking forward to the 4K. I got to play around with it a little bit, and I was amazed at what the video looks like just plugging it into the computer and watching. So get out there, have fun, enjoy this year. It's going to be a good year, I think, and have fun. That's the whole thing with hunting. Good friends. So
it looks like, to say, acknowledge some of our viewers, John Dallas, Michael D. Giovanni, Reese Every III, I think, Michael McDonald, Edwin Schertz, and Mr. Yeah, that and that's it. I'm trying to say the same name twice.
Well, that's good. And
Glad
Mike,
you guys are watching.
I'm actually going to be meeting Mike tomorrow. We're heading down to Florida together, so I'm looking forward to that. In fact, next week's show is going to come live from South Florida. So maybe we'll have some turkey photos to show you at that point. So,
all right, Rick, you want to lead us out?
Yeah, I do, Jack. Hey, thank you again, Jack. And the half hour went fast. We'll get you back on here before long and see how your turkey season's going and stuff. But I certainly appreciate it, and hopefully you get those kids out and have some luck this year.
I'm looking forward. Thanks a lot, and good luck down in Florida and wherever else whatever else turkey woods you're going to find yourself.
All right. Well, those that are heading out, good luck, hunt safe, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 6 to 6:30 on The Hunt with Alpine Optics. Good night, everybody.